Friends, thinkers, and gamers, welcome back to Tales of Praxis. As always, I'm Aaron Suduko, your host, the founder of With a Terrible Fate. WithATerribleFate.com is your home for all analyses and studies of the storytelling of your favorite video games, mostly in long-form written content on the site, but also in such formats as podcasts, convention lectures, and these streams, which I started a few months ago with the Tales of Praxis series, dedicated to diving into and exploring and celebrating the storytelling of Bandai Namco's Tales games by streaming explorations of the games one after another, not in chronological order or anything like that, but kind of feeling our way through the themes and what we're inclined to play as we go, and also supplemented with written analyses that are available on withtheterriblefate.com. I am wildly hoping to catch up on some of those written analyses this weekend, over the long weekend. Happy holidays to those in the U.S. celebrating and observing the 4th of July. If you are in the U.S., I hope you're able to get a long weekend out of it, at least. And if you were able to get a long weekend out of it and you're ringing it in with us here on Tales of Praxis, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a real honor. Excited to be here with you. But yes, I have a backlog of written work that I'm excited to dig into, so hoping to have some time for that. And then in the meanwhile, of course, we've been playing through, after the Tales of Symphonia duology, now the Tales of Zestiria duology, beginning with Zestiria itself, and then moving on to its prequel, Tales of Berseria, which was released a couple of years after it. We've been enjoying the adventures of Siray, the Shepherd, the chosen savior of humanity, who is off on a mission with his bonded seraphim to basically restore moral order to the universe. Most recently, through the completion of the Trials of the Shepherd, which we talked a little bit about last time as a way not just of cultivating Siray's spirit and his fortitude in his fight against the Lord of Calamity, but also as an interesting way of kind of nudging the shepherd along a somewhat linear and maybe predestined path, even though putatively, based on what Laila said at the outset of Siray's journey, the journey of the shepherd is meant to be one of exploration, adventure, and self-discovery through something more open world. So a really interesting intersection of kind of the narrative themes with the gameplay and the means through which we as the players have navigated the world along with Siray. But the trials are now complete. I think it's safe to say I enjoyed them more than I expected to, especially for kind of a standard rote, like middle of the plot series of dungeons in a JRPG. I mentioned a couple times as we went through the 4 elemental dungeons, they were more challenging than I expected for this kind of game in 2015, which was honestly kind of refreshing and rewarding. And they posed a lot of interesting questions in terms of the intentions of the shepherd and how that can cascade down into the virtue or vices of his journey as a putative savior of the world. We learned a lot more about various kinds of hellions and seraphim, and kind of what it looks like more viscerally when humanity either is able to ascend to moral purity or, tragically more commonly, descend into moral corruption, oftentimes through means that don't have that much to do with the moral fiber of their own character. In terms of, for instance, the hellion we saw at the Trial of Earth, which was an amalgamation of children who had been bullied and abused kind of horribly, only to then be one-upped in the Trial of Wind by the Hellion. That was an amalgamation of people who were spiritually misguided and tossed themselves off of this giant tower in an attempt to please the seraphim and end their personal suffering. So I think we've definitely given Siray and Rose and their seraphim compatriots a lot to chew on. I think I want to start off this stream by giving them time to chew on it, because the next thing in the main story, as the party would have us believe, is now that the trials are done, going off again in pursuit of Heldalf and hoping we'll fare better against him than we did last time. But before we do that, one of the other things that we discovered kind of on accident over the last stream was that when Saray went to talk with Rose, I can show you now. I love the various dialogue options that we get as a way of fleshing out the characters' relationships with one another, and also helping you to keep track of where to go next in the story, since it is such a relatively speaking vast open world compared with some of the earlier Tales games. But also, I had forgotten, it's a really useful system for pointing you in the direction of side quests, and I was kind of shocked and overwhelmed to see how many we had accumulated. It gives me the sneaking suspicion that I didn't do a lot of the side content during my first and only full playthrough of Tales of Zestiria. And since I've been so enjoying the side content we've done so far in terms of stumbling upon iris gems and also experiencing the little side stories of these different locales we've stumbled across when we've gone to restore their lords of the land in optional scenarios, I wanted to spend some more time to dive into those before we continued with the main story, especially since it appears we can start by following up on the corruption of Maltran, Alisha's mentor. We discovered at the Trial of Water that she has been covertly serving the Lord of Calamity, and I wasn't sure, so I didn't remember whether it would come up again later in the main story or not. It seemed like the Seraphim were telling us just to set it to the side while we focused on the trials of the Shepherd, and so I was thinking it would be the next thing that we would deal with after that in the main story. But it turns out, I think based on the way that Rose is messaging this, it's been relegated to the status of a side quest, which is interesting to me because I remember, and I've talked about before on the stream, how Alisha really felt to me like a character who was sort of half-articulated because we spent time with her and form a pretty substantive bond with her early on, only for her to leave the party and not really come up again. And I was thinking that might be because she was pushed to DLC, because we know, and I've never played this DLC, but there's a whole story-based DLC that I think is just called Alicia's Story, which we'll be doing after Tales of Zestiria, in between that and Tales of Berseria. But also, it seems like there is actually more content that focuses pretty heavily on Alisha in the game. It's just not very easy to find unless you go out of your way to do so. So they message it and signal it with Maltran revealing herself as a corrupt agent of the Lord of Calamity in the main story. But I'm thinking you might never actually follow up on that thread unless you make a point to do so in the side content, which is interesting for a Tales game. I can't think of any Tales game chronologically prior to this that I've played, at least, that treats side content and kind of what you might consider narratively core content in that particular way. But that makes me all the more interested to kick off this stream by jumping into this. And so, with that, welcome to the Friday night edition of Tales of Praxis. Cheers to that. I hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it with you, and let's dive into some side content, starting with Alisha, and then we'll see how long that takes, and maybe we'll go after Heldalf in this stream, or maybe we'll table that until Monday, if we end up having enough side content to keep us occupied for the next 3 hours. So, we're going all the way back to the Highland Empire, to Lady Lake, to kick things off. And fast travel is back, which I love. Truly, I don't understand why it was blocked off for us before. Although maybe it was simply for the sequence of like finding an alternative path back to the Highland Empire when we were in Rowlands and the the seeds of war were being sown. Which does make sense. I like that as an intersection of the availability of gameplay options reflecting what's actually happening in the story at a given moment.
You! Give up! We
Gotta love stumbling on another side quest while you're on the way to a side quest. Hashtag just JRPG things.
Purify him.
Yeah.
You need something, oh great shepherd?
Is it alright if I deal with this boy?
I'm afraid not. The only way to apprehend pickpockets is to catch them in the act.
But he's...
If you do the crime, you do the time. No matter how old you are.
This kid just wasn't ready for real-world consequences.
Hey, mister! Why don't you let Saray have a talk with him before you take him away? Just a word from the shepherd might steer the kid toward the right path in life, better than any time in detention.
That would be pointless.
Come on, it won't do any harm. What, you got some problem with Saray talking to this boy?
I never said that. It would simply be a waste of time.
You said this kid wasn't prepared to deal with the real-world consequences of his crimes. Are you prepared, mister?
What?
I'm part of a merchant crew that travels all over the world. You think I don't know why the pickpocketing problem is so bad?
I see. How much do you want?
Don't put me on your level. We Sparrow Feathers value our customers' trust. Saray, we're taking this guy to jail too.
Everybody's corrupt except the shepherd and his clan.
You will not lay a finger on her.
Shepherd!
Oh hey, stop! Wait! Saray!
Go after him.
Okay.
If it ain't one thing.
Saray, I'll go after them as well.
Please purify that boy.
Shepherd or not, I won't let you obstruct my duties! Guard, leave him alone! Even we can tell something about you stinks! Yeah, what kind of guard are you?
This reminds me of that moment in Tales of Symphonia, right after the transition to the second disc, when the townspeople of Visalia stand up against the corrupt mayor. It's a nice homage to that, I think.
You think we don't know what you're up to when our backs are turned? You dirty crook!
I think we're good here. Let's go after Rose. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, the guard seems so bummed out.
We're heading after Rose, right?
Whoa. It's not fun to be corrupt when you guys give me shit about it. Well, I guess we've already gotten sidetracked from our sidetrack. But that is more than half the fun in this kind of game. I am enjoying it. I think there's a certain pact that JRPGs and other long games ought to make with their players, even if not all games abide by this pact, where they promise that because there's so much content and it's such a time investment, whatever side adventures you go on are going to really robustly contribute to your overall experience of the game and its story and whatever point it's trying to make. And you can kind of feel, at least I can, pretty quickly when you sit down to play a given game, whether or not it recognizes and abides by that pact. And I think the Tales games pretty categorically do. I can't think of a Tales game where I was really frustrated by the side content feeling like filler. The only one I really remember feeling super negatively about at the time, actually in service of this point, was Tales of Legendia, and like I think I've said on the stream before, I think that was mostly because as a kid when I played it, I didn't understand the mode of presentation that it was using for its content between main story and optional content and post-game stuff, which is one of the reasons I want to go back and play that one. But yeah, all that to say, when a game does abide by that pact, I think there's no harm in not only exploring side quests, but also kind of be totally willing to go where your attention takes you and wherever the game nudges you for further side quests, because you can count on it all folding back into the main experience you're having in the game in a rewarding and substantive way.
Phew. You made it.
Is it over?
Maybe.
If it really bugs you that much, why don't you check up on it?
Well, how would we do that?
Let him lead us home.
Oh, so he wanders and we tail him.
That could work. All right then. Saray, Rose, you guys hide. I'll go wake him up.
Looks like they've made their decision. Are you okay with this, Laila?
Well, as long as we only follow him. Now!
Yeah! Don't you think he'll stop pickpocketing now? We purified him after all.
Not so sure about that. I've heard word of pickpocket gangs.
Oh, really?
We need to find out whether he was doing it on his own or with a group.
This is actually uncannily reminiscent of a particular side quest in Final Fantasy XVI. And I won't say more than that for fear of spoilers, but it's interesting how so many of these games, even years apart, gravitate towards similar themes. And even particular ways of representing those themes.
What did you mean by you knew why the pickpocketing problem is so bad?
The enforcers let him off a lot of the time in exchange for part of the takings. Then, when the guards need to hit their quotas, they round him up anyway. That's probably what that was about.
No way.
This is also, once again, making me wish that my religious studies background were more robust than it is, because, like, I don't know even the story of Christ super well, but this quest in particular has me thinking about kind of how understandable it is that someone in a messianic role or other savior-style role would end up being persecuted and even crucified, because you see how the world is like overcome by malevolence, but it's a very kind of meticulously crafted and well-oiled system of malevolence, where there are all of these like corrupt facets of the economy in a place like Lady Lake, where there are pickpockets, but the guards are kind of in on their corruption and moderate it in order for the guards to get a piece of that. And so like everything is kind of in harmony with all of the other pieces of the puzzle, but it's this very like not disingenuous harmony, but I guess just morally corrupt yet difficult to disrupt system. And so someone like the shepherd coming in and throwing a wedge in all of that is apt to ruffle some feathers.
Look, he's going in.
A noble's manor? It's clearly not his house.
I'm guessing a pickpocket gang then.
And so this must be their base.
Something tells me he's not gonna quit stealing.
Well, crap. Come on, we're not done yet.
Rose, it's unfortunate, but I'm not sure we should...
Laila means that this is just a problem of human society. Right. It might not be something a shepherd should get involved in.
I don't know about that. This doesn't seem the same thing as what they were talking about in terms of getting involved in war earlier in the story.
I'd be okay letting him deal with the consequences. But if there's a gang forcing him to steal, it's a completely different story. I gotta check to make sure.
Yeah, I thought so. I understand. Let's go check it out just in case.
You sure?
But no more than that. Understood? Saray, Rose, even if you don't intend them to, the powers of the shepherd and the squire can greatly influence human society and the spirits of men. Please don't forget that.
All right.
We'll just watch and see who goes in and out.
Lord.
Who knew that we wouldn't see anything for days on end?
You all can go back to the inn. I'm staying here.
It's okay. Shh, someone's coming out.
It's a bunch of little kids.
Those kids, you think maybe they're not being forced to pickpocket?
We've come this far. Let's see this thing through.
Dezel?
You go follow those brats. I'll go check out the building.
Didn't expect Dezel to be the one leading the charge here.
Boy. Don't go for anything big, got it? Only money and jewelry and stuff. Are they gonna have anything like that? That shepherd guy did something, and now there's lots more people donating stuff to the sanctuary. Oh, cool, that sounds fun. Priests won't be mean to kids, and if there's any real problems, we can always start crying. I'm good at that.
Hey, is this really okay?
It's okay if you're us and not them.
Is this what kids are like these days?
Dangerous times.
Those kids barely have any malevolence at all.
Children in their brutal honesty can be even crueler than corrupted adults, as you've seen.
See, because what Laila was talking about when she was saying to Saray and Rose, you have to be careful not to interfere with human affairs, that was very clearly a callback to the same dictum she handed down to Saray when Rowlance and Highland were first going to war with each other. But I feel like that's a false analogy, because what they seem to be doing here in terms of intervening with the kids and the corrupt guard is like trying to unravel that whole system of, like I was talking about before, like the well-oiled machine of mutually reinforcing corruption in Lady Lake. So I feel like the right analogy to that in the war case wouldn't be getting involved in one side of the war or another, and therefore turning the tide of human history in a way that's unbefitting the Shepherd, but rather, like, if the Shepherd were able to intervene in the war conflict in such a way that war were totally avoided, and he was able to, like, show Rowlance and Highland why war was misguided and no solution at all to any of their problems. So it'd be interesting to think more about this theme if more of the quests harken back to it, because right now I feel like this is a bad analogy that Laila is spinning out, and I wonder whether that's on purpose on the part of the game's design or not.
Hey,
Oh, Dezel, how was it?
the building was completely empty. Those scamps are probably just camping out there.
So then, those kids are acting on their own.
All right, it's snatching time.
Now that we know the score, do we want to report them to the guards and end this whole thing? After all, they're not Hellions.
Well, this is an interesting choice, because consistent with exactly what I was just saying, I feel like if we had an option to purify and deal with both the guards and the kids, that would be something that was appropriate for the Shepherd and his squire. But if we're turning in the kids to the guards, and we know as part of this quest that the guards are equally corrupt and the kids aren't Hellions, it does feel like if we were to just intervene by kind of siding with the guards over the kids, that would be the same thing as favoring one side over the other in a war of humans, which it's intelligible why that would not be the right thing for the shepherd to do, given the structure of the shepherd's quest. So I don't remember having done this quest in my previous playthrough, but given our reasoning on this stream, I'm going to say no. Go in blind and see what happens.
No,
We have to say something.
you're right. Hey, you all! Stop with your thieving!
Darn it! What do you want? Look, I never did nothing.
Yeah, this seems
You
like a
know
better
all
way to
about what
handle
you're
it.
up to. Fooling the priests into thinking you're helpless orphans and then robbing them blind. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
Oh yeah? You got any proof?
This here is the shepherd. His word is good enough.
That's perjury! False witness!
Princess Alisha and the people of Lady Lake all trust Saray.
Saying that Jesus bore false witness.
How
Ay,
about
ay, ay.
you? Will anyone trust your word?
Well,
Give it up, kid.
what else can we do? The adults all abandoned us. If we want to survive, stealing's our only choice.
Rose, maybe we ought to...
Come on, Saray. Let's bring them to the guards.
Wait. Really?
But to think children their age could conceive of such wretched duplicity.
And the other children?
They were all caught by the guards and hauled away.
I see.
So I guess it was a fake choice, because it seems like we went to the guards anyways. But at least we can feel good about making a well-reasoned choice in the moment of the decision that the game gave us, even if the game kind of didn't honor that choice in quite the way that we would have. But that's part of the interesting interaction between the player's agency and what the storytellers are trying to tell, after all. It's part of why we do this.
Those who commit crimes must be punished, even if they are children. It's the way the world works. But it still pains the heart.
Yeah. Hey, isn't this an Earthen Historia?
Oh, that was a donation from someone in the city. It looks rather rare and precious, so we've been unsure whether we should sell it.
Nice. Good call, Mr. Priestman.
Huh? Oh, thank you.
Father Brunor, we're actually collecting these.
You think we could have this? We'd pay for it, of course.
No, please, that's not necessary. If it's something the shepherd needs on his quest, by all means, please take it. I'm sure the donor would be overjoyed to know that their gift had been some help to the shepherd.
Thank you, Father Brunor.
Eck. Many shepherds gather at the shrine of Maltran. They celebrate a new shepherd. This is also fun because for all of my evangelizing about how cool the iris gems are, the feeling I have that I didn't do all the side content also makes me feel that back in the day I probably didn't see them all. So we may well be bearing witness to some scenes I haven't seen about the past of this game's world before. Looks a little bit like Saray.
Was that a marriage ceremony? And there were a whole bunch of shepherds there too.
It looked like it took place at the Shrine Church in Pendrago. And that was Maltelis's crest.
Was his Prime Lord Maltelis?
Please excuse me for a moment.
Uh-oh, she took off. Almost like you were picking on her.
We didn't mean for her to leave.
I know.
Well, judging from circumstantial evidence, I'd say there's a major chance that Maltelis is mixed up in this somehow.
Yeah. For that many shepherds to exist at once, you'd need a power on par with the 5 lords.
Yeah. But let's leave the speculation at that for now.
So long as we're gabbing about it, Lila's stuck in there.
Oops. Sorry, I forgot.
Interesting. It's kind of similar to the scene of Saray pulling the sword from the stone here, except we obviously didn't have the presence of all those other shepherds. Makes one wonder about the variety of different circumstances throughout world history within which different people were called to be shepherds.
Thanks, everyone. I needed that.
You're okay with how it worked out?
It's better than ignoring it and spending the rest of your life wondering. Yeah.
All right. That was definitely a rewarding side quest, and now we can go back to the side quest that called us to Lady Lake in the first place. Alisha and Maltran. Oh, she's here! I wasn't expecting that.
Day by day. No one will listen to me, no matter what I do.
Because you've been digging a hole, girl. You're stubborn as a mule, but even so.
I won't give up. The strength of a knight exists to protect, and their kindness serves the people.
You never change.
Saray, how are the ruins in Lake Haven Heights?
Well, you know, I did obtain the spiritual powers.
Wonderful. Though it's a shame. You just missed meeting my master.
Alisha, I needed to tell you about...
Maltran taught me the way of the spear at a young age. When I train with my master, I feel so invigorated. I don't enjoy all the scratches I get, but it's only because I lack experience.
What kind of person is she?
Well, she's kind of like...
Evil?
Like a mother to me.
Oh.
But she doesn't like me saying that. Says she's too young. But she taught me martial arts and the way of the knighthood when my mother died. I was only 7. I owe her much.
Alisha...
Though I fear I rely on her a bit too much.
That's not true.
I'll try to convince the chancellors. I do everything I can.
That's interesting in light of all the conversations we've had over the last few streams about the way this game plays with notions of duty and the obligations that we incur to others and ourselves and our communities. For Alisha to say kind of pointedly that she owes Maltran so much, almost as if we still don't know too much about Maltran, but based on her particular type of malevolence and how she might be manipulating someone like Alisha, if she's sort of weaponizing duty as a way of keeping the Princess Knight in line.
Are you sure you don't want to tell Alisha the truth about me?
Well, at least you have a sparkling personality.
You really are a pillar of support for her, you know?
That's it? You decided not to tell her just because of that? You're weak, as both a knight and a shepherd.
She's of no use to you now, right? Why don't you just leave her alone?
I'm interested, that's all. Of what will become of the foolish princess, who would needlessly turn herself into a martyr for her country.
I know Alisha will see it through.
Do you really think so? You really don't, do you? After all, you don't even think she has the strength to withstand the truth about me.
Ooh. Damning but accurate.
As long as we take care of it before she knows, everything will be just fine.
No need to rush. The tables will turn soon enough. All is according to his plan.
So maybe Maltran will come back in the main story after all. I was kind of hoping there would be a long, elaborate, and easily missable side quest in which her whole relationship with Alisha plays out. But I guess that was wishful thinking. Alright.
Are we not able to tell Alisha the truth about Maltran?
That's what I was gonna
Because
ask.
we can't actually believe in Alisha, even when we really want to?
She's just trying to provoke you.
Let's keep it a secret.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I agree. It appears harming Alisha is not part of her grand plan anyways.
Then I have no objections.
Rose, you agree too, right?
You sure told her off.
Saray looked like he was done with her, so I just took it from there after she started talking smack.
To be honest, I'm scared to tell Alisha the truth about her master.
Alisha really trusts Maltran, more than any one of us can imagine.
Do whatever you want. But if you do face off with her, don't hold back. Otherwise, you'll die.
Yeah, I know.
Don't get so serious. It'll be fine. Come on, stay psyched up.
Right.
I also feel like that's definitely a lie of omission, right? Not telling Alisha. And in contrast with what we were just talking about with the pickpocketing side quest and the engagement between Rolance and Highland earlier in the story, I don't think you can really paint this as the Shepherd staying above and outside of human affairs. Because remember, Alisha was Saray's first squire, and so while we still don't know a lot about what that relationship consists in, I feel like, if nothing else, it incurs a duty for the shepherd and squire to be forthright and honest with one another. So it feels kind of well-intentioned, though it may be, a little sketchy from my point of view, that they would all deliberate and decide to keep that very crucial and malevolence-related piece of information from Alisha. I don't love that. Alright, well, let's go through and see if we can find another side quest. Looks like there's more Alisha stuff here. It looks like Rose is saying there might be further talk we can have with Alisha, after all. Oh yeah, look at that. We just needed to refresh this map. Back from whence we came. The beauty of side quest cleanup, folks.
Hello. Is Alisha here?
Shouldn't you announce yourself? Or don't you have any respect for this family?
I'm sorry. My name is Saray.
Saray? Pardon my rudeness. The princess has spoken highly of you. She's out right now. We're not sure when she'll be back.
Work-related?
Yes. She's going after a suspect who's leaked information to the Roland's Empire. There definitely must be a spy going around, given the timing of their advancements.
Yes, even Alisha was under suspicion for it before.
Wow! The Princess of Highland would go so far as to do that herself? No, it's supposed to be the military's job, but she's acting by herself. Saying that she had to stop a clash between the two countries. But isn't she taking it a bit too seriously? Ever since the Battle of Glaven, she's been pushing herself so hard.
That's very like her.
I'm worried. She behaves so recklessly when she's alone. She just headed out to a round-eyed forest to gather info about the origin village, Camlon.
Huh. Camlon, you say?
It's the village where the Age of Chaos started, I think.
That's interesting.
But it's just some legend. Yes, she
And legends are never true in JRPGs.
The round-eyed forest and headed out there.
So that's how she came to Alisha.
But her hunch was wrong. I've never heard of this origin village from Gramps nor the other villagers.
Yeah. I guess that's true. I'll take my leave. Please tell Alisha that I'll come visit again.
I think she's pushing herself as a
To
princess.
Arandite Forest, then?
Alisha's always been like that.
That's exactly why I'm worried.
The Greek term logos has also been making its way around a number of JRPGs in the last few years. It's interesting to see yet another one using it. I don't remember that part of Zestiria. It's the Greek philosopher's term for the principle of reason and self-reflection present in humankind, for those who are curious. Might as well fish out the other side quest markers while we're here, before we follow up on that Alisha adventure.
I found this.
Thank you, Edna! Even more about logos.
Ghost. Could it be a seraph?
It does make you wonder. Perhaps the one who witnessed it had high resonance.
That side quest I do remember. Well, there's one more path in Lady Lake. Might as well clear it out before we head off. Nothing even over here. Alright. Oh, except a chest we weren't able to open before. I love that.
Bunch of hopeless delinquents. Those street kids in Lady Lake.
Well, if society's abandoned them, I don't know. Is there any other way for them to survive besides a life of crime?
It is a sad era we live in.
Give me a break. If you have to do wrong to trudge onward, you do so knowing the burden of that wrong. You hide that dark shadow within yourself and keep pressing on. Those kids weren't like that. They just went astray.
Hey, don't look at me when you say that.
Rose, so those are the things you have to think about, huh?
I don't think, I just do. Ugh, let's stop talking about this.
You mean you're just spontaneous? That's awesome.
Yes. No matter the circumstances, it's up to each person to decide how she wants to live her life and for what she must be held accountable. But Rose understands that instinctively, without thinking. Very impressive.
Seriously, can we change the subject?
Maybe the experience of abandonment will get those kids to realize the importance of responsibility. Thanks to you guys pointing them in the right direction.
I hope so.
Yeah.
If it were that easy, the Age of Chaos would be over already.
It's interesting to think that, like, because we know Rose has high resonance on a par with the Shepherd, that her instinctive attunement to morality and responsibility that Laila was talking about, and just her capacity to see that through intuition, is maybe identical with what it means to have resonance at all. Because we still don't know that much about actually what resonance consists in. We just kind of know what some of its effects are in terms of allowing people to see and interact with Seraphim and things like that. Also, I really like that skit for a lot of reasons, but I think one thing it also makes me reflect on is, I think especially in, like maybe 2015 is a little late for this, but I think looking at Dezel's character design and his voice acting and everything, it's very easy to cast him as a kind of emo core character who's just very dark and sullen and edgy, but he says things like that in terms of, having to like understand your identity and tamp down the darkness if it's something that like restrains you from going forward. And he strikes me more as like a highly resolved and like penitent person who has had to accept a lot of darkness in himself and kind of resents and accepts himself simultaneously in virtue of that, if that makes sense. And I don't know if it totally does, but it's just the impression I get from him at this point, which hopefully will be teased out further as we see more of him in the story. But he seems like more interesting and nuanced than that initial caricature might make you believe, at least. Sounds like Logos and Marland might lead us to an Iris gem at some point. But I want us to go after Alisha first if we can. So she was in forest nearby Alisha. For the life of me, I can't remember where it was or if we have it already. But if it was near Alisha, we might as well go back there anyway, so we could probably feel it out from there. We haven't been back to Alisha since the start of the story anyways. I'm sure there'll be some cool stuff to do there. Roundite Forest, that was the name. Well, we can go see Gramps first since we haven't been back to him. And I was curious to see whether we got any unique interactions based on the fact that we were able to buy back his pipe. And then we can head for a Roundite. Yes!
How are you?
Worth it.
You stupid brats!
Whoa.
Nice to see you too, Gramps.
Don't you have something to say to me first? I don't remember raising a fool.
I'm sorry for leaving without telling you.
It's good to be home.
Nice to meet you. My name is Rose.
Well, in any case, I'm glad to see you're safe. The Lady Squire is welcome here as well.
You can tell that I'm a squire?
Of course I can. Saray became the shepherd, and Mikleo is now a sublord, correct? Which would mean that the Prime Lord is the Lady of the Lake, then.
It has been a long time, Sir Zenris.
Hello!
You don't have to say anything. History repeats itself. It makes the world go round.
True, but I still want to believe in them, and believe that they can bring forth a new future.
Well, I'm glad you've all found such a nice Prime Lord. Hey, by the way, did my pipe come in handy?
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry about the pipe, as long as it was useful to you.
Can we give it back to him now?
But I'll give it back.
Yes!
Keep it for yourself.
Really, I'm okay. You know, I've grown up a lot through this journey.
Bratty as ever, aren't you?
That's awesome.
Please, take this.
I love that attention to detail in a game.
Thanks, Gramps.
No. I should be the one thanking you.
So, for those who maybe haven't watched the earlier motions of the stream, when you leave Alicia and head off to the world, Gramps gives you, through the intermediary of Micleo, his pipe, which it turns out is really valuable to sell in case we need funds to get by in the world. And pretty early in the game, when we're trying to get into the sanctuary in Lady Lake, we need to figure out how to bribe the guards, and an easy way to do that is to give actually Rose and another member of the Sparrow Feathers the pipe as payment for gold to bribe the guards with in order to get through. So the game is kind of designed so that you give away the pipe very early. And then in this playthrough, I don't remember whether I did this on my previous playthroughs of the game, but you can actually find or stumble upon, which is what happened for me, the guy who kind of ended up, after a fashion, being in possession of Gramps' pipe by buying it from representatives of the Sparrow Feathers, and he'll sell it back to you at a huge markup. But at that point in the game, it's pretty easy to have that much gold. And so, hoping that there'd be that kind of scene or interaction between Gramps, I bought it back a few streams ago. So it's so nice to see a game with this attention to detail that they have a whole, special, intimate, and presumably optional moment between Saray and Gramps based on whether or not you ended up getting the pipe back after all, or never sold it in the first place.
Saray, why don't we take a little break here?
Are you tired?
No, but it's a good idea to take a solid break to rejuvenate the soul.
Totes, let's do it.
Sure. I did want to chat with everyone in Alisha, too.
All right, we'll meet up later.
Well, that side quest marker is definitely calling me. But first, since Saray said he wanted to speak with everyone in Alisha, I feel like we would be doing wrong by him were we to not have at least a few conversations here. What's up? I'm the shepherd now! No, Micleo's not the same. We all call him Meebo now, as a hilarious joke. We're bullying him. Oh, there's Rose. We already knew that from that great post-battle dialogue between Micleo and Dezel. Is there anything special waiting for us in Saray's house? Nope, just home sweet home. Oh, haunting to think of the literal bastion of the Seraphim becoming a wellspring of corruption and malevolence. I love Laila. I want her to be my girlfriend. It's a rough thing to say to the literal savior of humanity. That humans are more trouble than they're worth. But I guess if anyone were obligated to assert the value of humanity in the face of existential doubt, it would be the shepherd, wouldn't it? Alright, I want to go to that side quest marker. Well, I guess I should save first. I don't think we've saved in a minute. while I'm saving and we're wandering over to that marker, I will raise again as a point of conversation for the live chat and people watching the VOD after the fact. We're going to be lecturing at PAX West in Seattle over Labor Day weekend, all about Pokemon versus JRPGs and whether or not Pokemon is a JRPG. And it's going to be a very fun panel. My dear friend and colleague Dan Hughes and I, and potentially some other analysts, TBD, will be building all of the research and presentation from scratch, as we usually do these days with the lectures that we give at video game conventions. And the thrust of it will be basically thinking about what, if anything, is the essence of a JRPG, and what, if anything, is the essence of a Pokemon game, and do those two things align or conflict with one another. And so especially for those of you who are keen enough on JRPGs to watch and follow along with Tales of Praxis, I would love to know any of your thoughts and feelings on what, for you, makes a JRPG, whether that's a certain kind of party you travel with, certain tropes, or recurring gameplay mechanics or plot twists. I have my own thoughts. I'm sure in a couple months, by the time I'm presenting the lecture, I will have a couple more thoughts. But I'd love to hear from those who are already deep down the rabbit hole of video game storytelling and JRPGs and aesthetics. What makes, not just video game stories, but of all the video game stories you consume, JRPG stories uniquely appealing to you? Tell me about it. Tweet at me about it. Message me about it. Send me a chat about it. Love to be able to use and cite some of your opinions by the time the lecture comes.
Shh. I see. Just as I thought, they...
Come on. Wait.
I'm so sorry. I wasn't aware of it and made the pact.
No. It was of their own decision that they made the pact with you. What they make of it will be up to them.
I'll support them with all I have, so that we won't repeat the same mistake.
Don't be so hard on yourself. There was nothing you could do for the previous shepherd.
Perhaps, but sometimes I can't help but wonder. Surely I could have done more than I did back then.
Everything is tied to their fate, and their fates are yet intertwined.
Yes, thanks to you, Sir Zenris.
No, you and those kids forged that bond. My role in this is done. All I can do now is worry about them.
There are times when things go awry, but their purity and virtue gives me hope. I want to accompany them on their journey. This time, there will be no regrets.
I see. Perhaps this is also how humans and seraphim should coexist as a whole.
I'm glad I was able to talk to you.
And I with you. Please, take care of them.
Weren't they just talking about us? Looks like it. Why don't we ask? Mikleo. I guess we shouldn't eavesdrop on their conversation. If Gramps has something to tell us, he'll tell us straight up. Yeah, same with Laila.
I like that idea that Gramps said that he had a role in this, but it's done now and it's up to everyone else. That reminds me pretty vividly of the scene we saw between Kratos and Ewan in Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World, where Kratos was off on Darius Carlon and basically said, my role in the story has already been played out. It's up to Lloyd and the others now. I'm not going to interject myself in it anymore. It's kind of unusual, but to me really realistic and compelling for a character, especially in a JRPG, to kind of acknowledge that they had a part to play, but also that the story has to go on without them. Well, we knew Laila had some trauma she was covering up with a previous shepherd. It's interesting that we're getting a little more color to that now. I wonder, and I'm sure we'll get insight to this one way or another by the end of the game, but I truly don't remember. But we know there's more history about Heldalf than we've been given at this point, and what Laila and Gramps were starting to say about kind of the failures of the previous Shepherd, compounded with the fact that we now know from the whole sequence with Azura in the temple, the trial of water, that Shepherds can become corrupted into Hellions. Like, I almost wonder whether the previous Shepherd actually was Heldalf and turned into the Lord of Calamity. That hasn't really been borne out in the Iris gems that we've seen so far, but those have only given us small glimpses into the past after all. Is there something specific we're supposed to do to end this side sequence? Maybe rest at Soray's house? Oh, no, the question mark is down there now. Not question mark, exclamation point. The speech bubble piece of punctuation. I was hoping to find Dezel. I don't know where he ended up. Unless I just walked right by him without clocking it. Alright, that's the end of that sequence. Glad we did that. I think that's going to be the story of this whole stream, just being sidetracked while on adventures to other side quests. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I think in some ways we're getting more fruitful conversation out of these side adventures than we have the last few instances of the main story. Not that I haven't been enjoying the main story, but I'm really just continually impressed because I didn't have that high quality memory of this game, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit more this time around. Whether that's because I'm at a different point in my life or because of the different context of playing it through after doing Symphonia and Dawn of the New World, or something else entirely. I couldn't tell you.
Whoa! We're in Gramps' domain.
Definitely enjoying it.
Gramps' domain is pretty strong.
Indeed.
Oh, so are there going to be no Hellions in the forest because Gramps' domain is so powerful? That seems to be the case. That's a pretty cool marriage of gameplay and narrative content, too. And now we have the skill set to actually break through these barriers that stopped us our first time through the forest. Gotta love a game that rewards you for retracing your steps to older areas unsolicited. I guess this was kind of solicited by the side content about Alisha. Although I don't see any quest marker here. So I'm not sure whether we'll actually be able to continue the Alisha adventures here. It's worth a shot though, if for no other reason than to just explore these little side paths in the forest that we weren't able to access before. Don't know what these things are. Suspicious looking substance. Probably something to do with X-Spheres. See, all the games are connected. Don't question it.
This place was in the Celestial Record.
What place? Oh, stag beetle. Love it. They're like little mini scavenger hunts, some of these discovery points.
Huh? Unbelievable.
What's wrong?
Shh, it's nothing. Keep still.
Whoa, check out that beetle!
Be quiet! Don't you know what that is?
What is it?
An Aroundite stag beetle.
Is that good?
It's incredibly rare. Atlas beetles die within a year, but stag beetles can survive the winter months with a typical lifespan of 3 years. This one in particular has remarkable tolerance to cold. It can be packed in snow on all sides and still not freeze to death. Some have been known to last for over a decade. They were thought to have gone extinct 100 years ago or so. I've only heard them whispered in legend before today.
Whoa, neat! The phantom beetle!
Understand? So be quiet.
Right. Don't want it to get away.
It already did, while Deza was blabbing on and on about it.
It what?
Not that I can blame it.
So, for anyone who's keeping score, Dezel loves doggies and beetles. A man after my own heart. Okay, I'm kind of losing track of the paths we've taken, but I don't think we did the circuitous one down here yet. So let's give that a go next.
There should be a vista point nearby.
Oh, another area of interest. What could they be talking about? Is it the mushrooms? Oh, it's the mushrooms. Nice. Once you realize that it's not just big vistas, but sometimes small details, it does make it easier to find them pretty efficiently.
Mushrooms! Are they safe to eat?
The ones closest to you are okay, but stay away from the ones in the back.
And Dezel knows everything about this forest.
Wow. How do you know all that?
It's just common knowledge.
This forest. It's so rich and abundant with life.
Yeah, that's the power of Gramps' blessed domain.
Oh, so it's Gramps' domain that makes it feel this way?
It's a sizable amount of power. Even among high-ranking Seraphim, there are very few on his level.
That's Gramps for you. Anyone comes by who's up to no good, they get zapped in the butt with lightning. Pow!
He can wield lightning?
Yep, he lights up the sky like fireworks.
I sure remember fireworks when it came to him and you.
Well, figuratively.
Oh, and that explains all the mushrooms.
Huh?
Wait,
Right!
what?
Monday's lightning strikes the ground, Tuesday's mushrooms will be found.
Yeah, of course.
Aha.
Everyone knows
So we
that.
have Saray to thank for this harvest.
Hey! No, it wasn't like that.
Oh, cute. It's nice to get further perspective on one of the earliest relationships in the game, namely Saray and Gramps' way after the fact and through the eyes of the newfound party members. That's something that I think JRPGs are uniquely adept at. Penetrate! I can't begin to tell you how overwhelmed I am by the task of skill assignation. But I feel like we just passed a really high attack power one for Rose. Where was it? Yeah. I mean, that's a ridiculous attack stat relative to the others. So why don't we give that penetrate and then equip Rose with that? We might be nearing the point where we want to do another round of digging deep into all of the skill assignments and see if we can improve any of those. But I don't want to do that quite yet. Yeah, this seems like a no-brainer change in Rose's allocations, though. That's the amount of skill and equipment management in this game that I can do and feel good about on a casual basis, as opposed to really getting into it. think I've probably mentioned this on the stream before, but one of the smallest little gripes I have with games like this that I feel like would improve the way that I at least play these games, if designers more routinely added it, was they have the mini-map, and that's great, and they have this larger map overlay, which is great, but I wish they had a way to view the larger map of the area while you were still walking through it, because that's just such a nice way to keep track of where you're going as you're continuing to move the avatar. There are definitely some games that do that, but I think it's still far from the norm. Huh, okay, so we went through the whole forest and we didn't find Alisha. Where is that girl hiding? Maybe she's on the field map out here? No? Alright, well in that case, I think it's time to talk to Rose for more side quests. Man, I'm bummed. I was hoping we could find Alisha again. Maybe that just won't be unlocked until later in the main story. Well, that Logos fellow was all the rage in Lady Lake, so I say, why don't we go to Marland next and pursue some more details about his mysterious machinations. City of the Great Tree, baby! And of the Great Plague, but we fixed that. No more Great Plague. Looks like we want to wind all the way to the museum. Let's do it. Oh, he was a trader in Iris Jones. Sounds like the kind of guy we want to meet. Maybe do some business with. I like the idea in this game, and I think it manifests in a lot of other games and stories, that merchants are just kind of their own nomadic, like, class of peoples who have their own, like, language and frame of reference for understanding the world, in their own kind of esoteric shorthand with one another. Made all the more potent and poignant in this game by virtue of the fact that the shepherd squire, Rose, is also intimately related to and a part of the merchant class. Might as well drop by the sanctuary on our way while we're here. Nothing here. I think we got the Iris gem in the sanctuary already. Must just be old information. Peacock feathers, you say? Okay. Well, I guess we need to go to Patinal Forest. Have we not been there yet? Okay, maybe we need to leave the town. Okay. Must be one of the offshoots of one of the field maps that we just haven't broached yet. But there's a simple enough remedy to that. I'm going to double check the sanctuary just to make sure that we did indeed get whatever Irish gem they're talking about here. Yeah, we very clearly did. There's nowhere it would be hiding here. Alright, what do you have for us, Falkland Hillside? Bunch of places we've been already. Not sure where that forest was. Forest is. Well, let's see if we can find another side quest in the meanwhile, and I'm sure we'll stumble upon it on the way. It's usually how I go through games such as this. Oh, the hideout where the sparrow feathers are relocating is in exactly the same place. See? As foretold by me moments ago. We will get there anyway, and now we have a location lead, which is all I needed. North of the Meadow of Triumph. The Meadow of Triumph, I know, is on our fast travel list. I do really, in spite of myself, enjoy learning the geography of various video game worlds and JRPG worlds, but especially since the introduction of fast travel, it's so hard for me to do so, because I definitely lean on fast travel as a clutch. I will say, once again, without any substantive spoilers, that was one of the reasons I ended up really appreciating the overall structure of Final Fantasy XVI, because it has a world where I was initially very overwhelmed at the prospect of navigating and understanding all of its different regions and the way they related to each other and what the different stakeholders in each region thought of each other and blah blah blah. But I ended up, over the course of the game, true, I'm sure, to the designer's intentions, really coming to understand and appreciate the world, and I think in large part by virtue of the limitations they placed on things like fast travel or easy shortcuts to understanding the nature of the world, really getting kind of a more robust lay of the land in terms of all those different aspects of culture and geography and things that I'm usually blind to than I would have expected. So I do love it when a game can achieve something like that. Where is the vista point? I feel like it has to be these ruins. There we go. Collapsed Leaning Tower. Ah, but no skip. What a letdown. Finally! We can equip our characters with sideburns. Yes! Making progress in the deep game of Zestiria. All the attachments. Not animal attacks, anything like that. Now, I don't know Arthur lore with a sufficiently encyclopedic bent to be able to tell you whether or not Mallory is a reference to one King Arthur story or another. So if anyone watching or listening knows, please feel free to shout that out. But it's at least not one of the more iconic references, if it is a reference at all. I can tell you that much. Alright, we've got a whole other forest. With a good amount of side content, looks like.
Is this the new hideout?
One of the candidates. I'll go check it out. Wanna come?
I'm gonna take a look. Sorry, but wait here a sec.
So many people to talk to. Well, that's a weird thing to offer. The question of whether Brad could be Rose's father. Is there anything in the game so far suggesting that? I don't think so. It's a bit of a non sequitur as much as I've been following things. Ah, that's disheartening. It's a good echo of what we were talking about a few streams ago in terms of how the hidden bones exist in an orthogonal relation to nation states and other political actors in the world. What does that mean, Edna? Say what you mean. Maybe Lila's comment on Brad being Rose's father was based on a lot of these other optional conversations that we hadn't engaged in when we spoke to her. Maybe, in fact, this is a side quest to learn more about Rose's history and maybe her family, biologically and otherwise. Oh, that's right. Lunar, the one that guy was talking
Guess what?
about, was
the Mabo curry bun was a huge
the
success.
first
It
Hellion
might become the
boss that
Sparrow
we
Feather's
fought.
most famous product.
I had totally
That's right.
forgotten that. Wow.
Here's a sample. When you think Mabo curry bun, think sparrow feathers.
Thank you. That was a conversation with an Assassin's Guild?
Isn't it good that they're so peaceful?
It seems ideal for hiding away, but if we were attacked here, we'd be in a bind.
You're right. Well, that's that. Let's look somewhere else.
Sorry for making you all wait.
Boss, Talfrin's back.
Oh, how'd it go?
Well, the Mabo curry bun was super popular, and
The Romano firm looks legit on paper, but it's about as shady as it gets.
more than 30 reported bankrupt families. The firm confiscates all the family's property and takes it as their own. And as for what happens to those broken families, well, take a guess.
There's gotta be a legal pitfall somewhere. Egil,
Have squads 2 and 4 back up Talfrin. Investigate the Romano firm and its surroundings.
Yes, sir.
I'll leave it up to you.
Even humans can make themselves disappear.
Apparently,
All right, then.
wow.
Let's get going.
Sure.
That's my Rose.
You scattered bones sure are on the same wavelength.
You think? Well, we are kinda like family.
Family, huh?
I wanted to ask you if someone named Brad was your father.
You mean our late leader? He's the one who saved me.
Oh, really?
Apparently, I was lost and roaming around the northern battlefield when he found me.
Just like me.
Seraphim don't have parents either.
You guys too, huh?
But we do know what it means to have a family. Gramps was the one who raised both of us.
Same here. My friends in the Scattered Bones are like family to me, who took the same path I did.
You don't mind having to be an assassin?
No way! I'm grateful for it. It's better than us all being apart.
I see.
So, she doesn't mind, huh?
That's an interesting sub-theme that I hadn't really picked up on before in this game. The idea that all of the members of the main party seem in one way or another to be either orphans or at least more inclined to define their family by like the people who raised them or with whom they end up being connected rather than biological ties. I'm not sure how that fits into any of the other things we've been talking about, but it's worthwhile, I think, to keep an eye on it as we go forward.
Told you the Mabo curry bun would be a huge hit.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Hey, mind your manners, you two.
But we gotta eat it before it gets cold.
That does look pretty good, actually.
Gross.
I can't take it anymore. Give me a bite.
Yeah, sharing is caring.
Your manners, everyone, please.
You want some too?
Yes, please. Oh,
Oh, I don't think I've had a really good bun like that since I was in China with a couple friends of mine a few years ago at this point. But I miss that food. We went to Shanghai and then to Beijing, and among many of the rich cultural treasures and one-of-a-kind things that we saw, one of my richest memories, for better or worse, is all of the amazing food that we sampled and ate our way through during our couple of weeks there. I think that probably says more about me and the way that I engage in tourism rather than the country. But many happy memories. I've been inclined in the years since to pretty frequently tell the story of wandering around the streets of Shanghai in the middle of the day and finding this hole-in-the-wall place where literally all they did was cook pork dumplings, and they had just like a giant mound of them that they would pull from to serve you, and it was like probably the best dumplings I've ever had, and like, multiple heaping servings of them for something ridiculous like $3 or something. I know I've been pretty critical over these Tales of Praxis streams about the cooking systems in these games, but it is perhaps ironic because I do sample and experience the world so often through food and cuisine, as I think so many of us are apt to do. So if the games are trying to achieve any sense of verisimilitude in how we engage with and navigate their worlds, I suppose there are worse ways to do it than through accumulating a list of recipes derived from all of the various places along the way that characters stop on their adventures to save the world. I will also say, while we're on the subject of cooking in Tales games, and I never would have thought of this in a million years if I were prompted to, but sometimes things just pop into one's head through free association. Actually, even though I've never really loved cooking systems in games, I distinctly remember, I played Tales of Symphonia for the first of many times when I was a little kid, before I'd had a lot of exposure to a lot of my real world in general, let alone the video game world. And one of the things, for whatever reason, that stuck out to me from that game was the recipe, I think you get in Mizuho, for miso soup. And the description of it in the game talked about, this wonderful medley of seaweed and tofu flavors. And I'd never had anything like that in the real world as a kid. And I remember thinking, man, that sounds so interesting and appealing, and I wish I could try that. And then I got to high school, and in my local downtown in high school, there was a Chinese place that did miso soup. And I remember thinking, oh man, this isn't just something in a fictional JRPG, it's a real thing, and I can try it. And ever since then, I think in large part because of Tales of Symphonia, I've had a real thing for miso soup. Basically, any restaurant I go to where it's on the menu, I will order it and love it. And I think, again, as much as I've had trouble with cooking systems and JRPGs over the years, I owe at least that small part of my palate and penchant for particular dishes in the real world to JRPGs, and in particular Tales of Symphonia. So thank you, Tales of Symphonia. In one more way than I've talked about and published on to date, you have made me the man I am today. I think as recently as a few weeks ago, I ordered miso soup from my local sushi place. Oh yeah, I forgot to restock on life bottles. We should definitely do a restock before we get too much further into side quests here. That said, we do have to try to hunt down a peacock here. If I were an optional boss or mini-boss, I'd probably be in that lower right-hand big circular area. But we can just methodically work our way down to that point. That is one of the little things that I actually got thinking about while I was playing Final Fantasy XVI, in terms of the ways that just playing a lot of these games condition you to have a sixth sense for the way in which they're designed, even if you're not in the game design business per se, where, for instance, in the game, and this isn't a spoiler, but you have optional missions throughout the game to hunt down big game, so sort of optional mini boss monsters, and they don't always tell you where on the world map they are, so you kind of have to hunt them out and figure out where the location is. And more often than not, I was able to think through, as someone who's played a lot of JRPGs, okay, which places on the map look like they'd be well suited as miniature arenas for boss fights, and just by reasoning from those sorts of first principles, I was able to pretty efficiently locate a lot of those monsters. So kind of absorb the design style for a lot of these games because it is relatively standardized, even if you don't consciously realize it. Which I think is a cool thing. It makes you recognize, in much the same spirit as we try to advocate for and with A Terrible Fate, like there is very much a language to this kind of game and this kind of storytelling, and the more effort you put into thinking about and studying that and kind of understanding its, for want of a better analogy, grammar and syntax and semantics, actually using that in your day-to-day life and your life as a gamer, the more you can actually be rewarded with just a richer understanding and appreciation and intuitive engagement with these games. At least these enemies seem to be underleveled relative to us. See, sometimes putting off side content pays off, boys and girls. That's the lesson here. Speaking of norms of the genre.
It's not often you see a seraph using a staff like that.
Well, for once, that dangerous encounter was not so dangerous. And you're not going to hear any complaints from me about that, especially since I just espied our target peacock up ahead. If we can ever fight our way through all of these random encounters that apparently have caught up with us here at this save point. There he / she / it is. Oh, beautiful! Look at those colors. Man, that is a beautiful, if Dr. Seuss-like looking creature, if ever I've seen one. Let's kill it! King Peacock! Not even just a peacock.
Sometimes even sheep want their wool cut. Well, sheep are different.
Rose, I swear to God, if you die on me. Alright, go team. Oof. An almost 20 grade for that very easy battle. I will take it and ask no follow-up questions. I was expecting we'd get a skid afterwards. Well, I'm going to assume we got the feathers we needed at least, because I wasn't keeping track of the items we got as a reward for that.
I can sense the ancient tongue. We're near one.
There you go, speaking of grade. Even still though, I think the tail standard is typically they tack on 10 points of grade for beating a boss or some monster that fills a quasi-boss role. And even then, in other non-Zestiria games, I feel like I oftentimes find myself at the mercy of negative grade when it comes to bosses. Exactly because they will oftentimes, especially if you're playing on harder difficulties, very easily kill off your whole party, which requires the use of a lot of items. And what that monolith did not tell you is that the corollary of being rewarded with extra grade for not using items is typically losing lots of grade for using lots of items in these games. Which is, I mean, I've never really complained about that. It feels like a fair trade, but I do think I mentioned on either the last stream or the stream before that this weird instinct that I have that it feels like cheating or a failure to use items in games now, even when they give you items and kind of expect you to use them. And I think I cited Miyazaki's games at the time as the main potential explanation for why I feel that way, but honestly, being like literally docked points when it comes to grade in Tales games for using items has probably also gone a long way toward cultivating that mindset for me. Alright. Back to Marland, I guess? To try to hand off these peacock feathers. See if we can get more information about Logos. Go to the Vivia Subterranean Aqueduct. Oh, so this, I think I've blended two side quests together in my head. I think this is not about Logos, unless he's also the spy, which would just mean there's one fewer side quest thread than I expected. But rather, if it's not about Logos, then following up on the side quest chain with Alisha in terms of who is acting as the spy between Highland and Rowlands. Alright. To the aqueduct. Oh, fuck me. I was gonna restock on items first. We should do that. I don't know if there's a best place to travel to. I think the inn is relatively close to the merchant in Lady Lake. We might as well rest while we're here too. Everyone's fully healed up, but I'm sensing enough time has passed that we might get another inn skit, which is half the story and half the journey in these Tales games, as we well know by now. Yes! This is what I'm talking about.
How is that possible? Everyone knows you love him. You've even
It's like your one character trait, isn't it?
Rose, better not to mention the mascot.
It gets long.
I love long stories. Go ahead, lay it on us.
Okay, but don't say I didn't warn you. This little guy here, you can pull out his head to stretch out his neck, like a giraffe.
That's what you meant by it gets long?
Same goes for the nose, too. Max length, 1.5 times its height.
Ew, that's not even a Norman anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of
That's right.
ridiculous.
There's things like a talisman, an amulet, a rabbit's foot, a periapt, that sort of thing.
I don't quite get it, but sure.
A charm you carry because it's special to you, right? Not really. It was given to me, so I put it on.
But, like, probably by Eisen if we know anything about Edna, right? Especially given the way she turned her back to the camera when she muttered that. Give me those apple gels. Son of a bitch. You're only selling apple gels for items? Based on the shop leveling system, that's probably designed in such a way that if you spend more money at the shop and it upgrades its level, they offer more of the basic items you expect to be provided by any shop. Which is, like, I think I get the systemization that they were going for, but as a practical matter, especially when you're popping back and forth between a bunch of different municipalities as you're doing side quests as we are and flitting hither and thither throughout the world, it seems like a bit of a damper on your ability to navigate the world with ease. No matter. Pendrago will solve all our problems. Just goes to show that Rollins is better than Highland. That's the hidden message of this gameplay mechanism. Very good. Now we go to the aqueducts. I think really the first proper dungeon we navigated in Zestiria back like 9 or 10 sessions ago. Nice to be back here after all this time.
Don't move. You are under arrest for leaking confidential info.
This isn't worth pausing for, but man, if you want to talk about like small linguistic nuances that make all the difference in games like this, especially games that are translated after the fact, like Alisha saying info versus information, you wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference. But if you think about the holistic presentation of her character as a princess knight and just the way that she talks and the way that her voice actor measures the cadence of her speech everywhere else, info versus information just seems so wildly and inappropriately colloquial. It's like, why would you not say information? That's such an easy change, and it just, I think, robs her overall presentation of more coherence than you would expect for such a small nuance. Okay, I'm done. Let's watch the scene.
Looks like Alisha came to the same conclusion.
What is the meaning of this? I'm sorry, this is just a misunderstanding. Please take your leave, Princess. This is...
Don't make excuses. I found evidence of connections to Rollins in this very residence.
So is this Logos, after all?
Renovations for Grifflet Bridge, order forms of military arsenal,
Seems that way.
unauthorized transactions for...
That is simply a reward for his support.
Support?
Logos is an important person who connected Rollins and Highland through unofficial diplomacy.
What does that mean?
On the surface, diplomacy between Highland and Rollins has been cut. He must have been negotiating with them on his own for some time in secret. So then he's not a spy, but a liaison.
Meaning even with the war going on, there's been work done.
Such is politics.
This is a major problem. If the channel gets blocked, both countries will fight until they're both obliterated.
But no one ever told me anything about it.
Of course they didn't. Not to someone like you. I hope you're prepared to pay for your indiscretion. In any case, we must change our strategy. We will be expecting your sincere apology at a later date.
Understood.
Brutal. So that's an interesting corollary to what we've been talking about with the hidden bones as an operator outside of the political schemata of the world. This idea that even within the interactions between the nation states, certain actors find a way to continue productive cross-pollination, even when war and other superficialities would have it that they are at a stalemate with one another. No! The ancient shepherds do battle! Oh, and we're getting more insight into Maltellus. I'm loving this sub-theme of the Iris Gems. I had forgotten this one. That was Iris Gems, to be clear, not Irish Gems. Well, yeah, so this looks to be a whole battalion of shepherds as opposed to the singular shepherd we have at our disposal
I
now.
never knew there were once so many shepherds. all using their purification powers on Hellions. So the question is, why and how did they disappear?
What do you think?
If the existence of so many shepherds depended on Maltellus, then when Maltellus disappeared, so did all of them.
Isn't it too early to jump to conclusions?
Well, what other possibilities are there?
Maybe humans abandoned their faith in Seraphim to the extent that shepherds just ceased to exist.
Perhaps the large crowd of shepherds we saw was just a historical anomaly.
Maybe only people like Saray can be shepherds, and there's just fewer nice guys in the world these days.
Huh. So there's plenty of other possibilities. I guess that means we have to keep collecting information.
Yes, if you do that, you will surely arrive at your answer.
This is a cool way of leveraging conversation between different members of the JRPG party to invite and encourage players to draw their own conclusions and interpretations about the story. Because I read that as implying and strongly suggesting there's no real right way to interpret these events. Rather, your task and the way in which you succeed and win the game, so to speak, is cultivating and understanding and being able to defend and substantiate your own interpretation that sheds light on the content of the story and history for you and can present a valuable perspective to others who have a stake in those events. Which, by the way, is, I'm sure fans of With a Terrible Fate already know, a big cornerstone of the ethos behind every single thing that we publish on the website in terms of analyzing and interpreting the stories of video games. None of those purport to really be the end-all be-all of interpretation with respect to a single game story, but rather offering you a hopefully valuable and productive perspective through which to engage with that game or that concept within gaming, and whether or not it was the one that you took to be the most valuable or illuminating based on your own time with the game.
Hey, you there. Take this to the inn.
You! This is all your damn fault!
Hurry up, kid.
All the grown-ups do is order us around, day in and day out. You call this saving us? Some shepherds you are. Screw you!
Cool to see follow-up on that pickpocket mission so quickly.
Looks like they've turned to honest labor now.
Yeah, but it did make us popular, that's for sure.
That's fine, as long as they're keeping out of trouble.
Agreed.
Saray. Saray, wait.
How did it go?
Fortunately, we were able to prevent rumors from spreading. Though in the end, I did have to prostrate myself.
That must have been hard.
Don't worry, it's fine. I did go a bit too far after all. The Difta family has been surviving as a branch of the Imperial family. But my mother was born to normal citizens, and was later courted on a whim by my father. So everyone forgave me and assumed it was natural I didn't follow politics.
Milady.
And so... that's why I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted to gain acceptance from everyone in honor of my late father and mother. Was I wrong in the end?
Jesus.
I shall go fetch some more tea.
Let's leave her alone just for a moment.
Right.
Man, so that goes a long way towards explaining why she's felt like such an outsider and presented as such relative to her seemingly noble heritage. It's because she really only has half noble heritage and has therefore kind of only had one foot in, with the other foot being out of the realm of nobility and politics, to which she feels so obligated without really having the right of participation. Another common and moving theme in JRPGs. I guess we can't press this story further right this second. Maybe we have to leave the map and come back like we did earlier. Nope. Guess that's not it. Let's speak with Rose then. What's next? We can follow up on the pickpocketing children in Lastenbell. That sounds like a plan to me.
Being a princess sure sounds rough.
Nations and politics are like an entwined spiderweb full of people's desires. If you are too full of ideals, you'll be entangled in the web instantly.
But still, I don't want to say that Alicia's completely wrong.
Especially since we know the reason why she's been working so hard.
In times like these, Alicia's straightforwardness is a truly valuable asset. However, a sword that is too hard can break easily.
True, and besides, Alicia does make sound arguments.
Isn't that a good thing?
It's like, you know how if someone pointed out your wrongdoings, it really hits you? You'd probably get discouraged, or even snap.
They're only human after all.
Meaning that by pushing her sharp reasoning on others, it causes cognitive dissonance and turns people against her. So that's it.
Even though she's right, she's met with hostility. And she faces her challengers straight on, which in turn only brings forth even more hostility.
So that's why she worries so.
What a pain.
I'm sure it's tough on her.
However, I don't think Alicia's feelings are completely misguided. Though we may need to assess the situation to know for sure.
Alicia isn't the only one. I need to see for myself as well.
I wonder if that skit will prompt further opportunities to explore her side content. But for now, let's go to Lastenbell. Rose did say Lastenbell for more about the kids, right? So I'm not seeing anything here. That is what she says. Well, let's trust Rose and wander around a bit. There was a side mention of bandits in the forest. Wonder if that's anything. Bandit children. Oh yeah, these I think are not the, not to be confused with the pickpocket children we were dealing with in Lady Lake. These are the bandit children that we encountered in the forest where the Hidden Bones initially were stationed. And who, after the Hidden Bones left, we heard kind of fell to further corruption and banditry.
Aren't they referring to the group of children we met back then?
We should let them know. If the army is after them, they won't stand a chance.
That's why I told them to stop.
Alright, so we probably want to go back to that forest. Looks like there's one other optional conversation to have here. Yeah, there we go. That's the same information though. Alright. Let's have a warp. Fulgrim Forest. That's it. Okay, back to the Tintagel ruins. Suppose we can fast travel to there. Save ourselves a few seconds. It is nice how quick the fast travel is in this game. I was thinking about that because honestly for 2015 I would expect the standards for load time between different areas to be like 2 to 3 times as long as these are. But we don't even have loading screens in this. The screen just goes black and then a few seconds later we're back. I love that. Adds a lot to the continuity of one's experience with the world.
The ones hunting soldiers.
Oh, Jesus.
They're dead.
Did the army do it? Doubtful. They wouldn't leave corpses in the open like this, nor would they go to such extremes. Who else could it be? Thank goodness!
Oh, survivor.
Still alive.
We did what they asked. Why? Saray, watch out! Why did you kill them?
Oh god. That escalated quickly.
Could it be that she...
I don't know. We'll deal with that later.
We must purify her.
Tower of Blood, I think that's a new one they've learned. I love some of the names of these skills. Like Tower of Blood, are you kidding me? That and Blood Moon. But Lylar Mattis in particular has some pretty cool names behind its techniques. Purgatory of Flame, that's a great one too. Rose is back to acting as our beloved glass cannon.
We did it. But she was the only one we could save.
Hey, over there!
Oh, he's still breathing!
Whoa there, Mr. Shepherd. What's going on?
Oish! Perfect timing!
We need help!
Let's start with the treatment. Just leave the young'uns to me. Neither of them have mortal injuries, but they're not waking up yet.
Did our purification fail?
No, it's more of a psychological kind of deal.
What on earth could have happened to them?
He beat us. We did what we were told and lived as bandits. He? So you guys were hired by someone? Yeah. We weren't sure we wanted to keep hunting lone soldiers. Then he told us there was an easier way to make money. We did what we were told and attacked the carrier. And he bought all the stolen freight for a high price. He even promised us that he'd hook us up with legit jobs soon after.
This VA sounds a little bit like Genus from Tales of Symphonia.
Our leader was the only one who talked to him, and I'm not that smart.
I wonder if it's the same voice actor.
We believed in him because we always wanted to have honest jobs. But
I would swear dollars to donuts it is.
all the evidence and sent a bunch of
That's
soldiers
crazy.
and killed everybody.
Destroy all the evidence?
We were so foolish. I've never been smart, but I'm so disappointed in myself. Please, avenge them. They took all our money, too. We only have this, but we...
In Earth and Historia.
Don't worry. The scattered bones will see your request through.
Rose.
Oof, brutal. I think it's interesting to note too. We've talked around this over the past streams, but I don't think I've called it out as such. There's a sense in which, unlike pretty much any other Tales game I can think of, a lot, if not like most of the battles in this game are allegorical in the specific sense that it's not like you're actually killing someone or beating the life force out of them, but rather, like we saw with the confrontation between the shepherd and his party against the hellion that the surviving kid turned into, the battle is a way of purging the malevolence of someone and freeing them from their negative influences, so that then the person who is kind of being used as the like puppet or proxy for battle against you is liberated from that influence. That's interesting and like more subtle than you might expect going into this kind of game, because if you don't think about it, all of this combat feels part and parcel with all of the other fights of, you know, many different kinds and variations and numeracy that you've had to do in any other Tales game. But when you actually think about the substance of what's happening in it, let alone the difference between these kinds of battles and the sorts of battles in something like Tales of the Abyss, where the main protagonist actively wrestles with what it means to kill someone because he is directly killing his enemies, in stark contrast with something like what the shepherd is doing through the power of purification. Like it's a very different meaning and system of semantics to the combat system that you're engaging with than you get in most of these games. That's kind of interesting, I think. Laila travels with an unknown young shepherd. A strong bond of trust unites them. It does sound consistent with Laila's MO. Let's watch what happens. Cute.
That was killer, Laila. You were in perfect harmony.
He was quite skilled despite his youth.
Yeah, compared to him, you've still got a long way to go. Laila, I wish I could go on a journey like that with you.
Saray. Excuse you, Saray.
Huh?
Yes. This journey now is every bit as enjoyable as it was back then. Thanks to everyone here.
That too is a cool variation on what you might typically expect in these games. I can't think of one off the top of my head where you have that idea of a party member who has been on a similar kind of journey many times in the past. And so for her, it's more of a variation on the theme, whereas for you, the player, and the rest of the party, it's easy for it to feel like a unique experience and this distinct path to saving the world. I think that's a pretty interesting way of seeing the dynamic between Laila and the rest of the party here. Which again is, even if is kind of constantly implicit by the game, they don't beat you over the head with the idea that that's part of what they're playing with in the storytelling.
Are you really going to take on his request?
Yeah, I mean, I kinda already did.
Huh. Are you sure this is okay? I hate to sound harsh, but those children were accomplices in a crime.
Yeah, meaning in this case, the mercenaries punished the group of thieves who caused them all this trouble. But, I mean, those kids were just trying to survive. They knew they were doing a bad thing, and they were trying to break free of that vicious cycle. Someone took advantage of that and murdered them. What those kids did was wrong, but even so, the one who betrayed them was just as wrong.
Maybe, but sorry. I don't know the right answer to this.
I'm not blaming you. Sorry if I made you feel that way. And it's not like it's just their problem.
Huh?
Just don't worry about it. Seriously, I'll totally do the detective work. If it's a Hellion thing, it's all you.
All right. Let's find out who's behind it all first.
You got it. Oh yeah, almost forgot. I should ask Agil to look after these kids.
And do we know where Gil will be? I mean, they abandoned the last potential hideout in the forest, right? Oh, perhaps we should just ask our dear friend Rose. Alright, I guess we're not going to get more movement on this yet. We probably have to advance the main story more first. Looks like we can advance that werewolf howling at the moon quest if we rest at an inn in the appropriate town. Wish I could remember where that happened. I think maybe Pendrago? Pendrago or Gododin, so I feel like it wouldn't hurt to rest at both the inns and see what happens. Brute force. Always the best way to knock out side quests in JRPGs. In my experience, at least.
Saray, you're not going to sleep yet? Yeah. I want to take a look around the city.
There we go! Got it in one.
The gravity of the city's history. Fitting for an ancient capital born from the height of the era of
I love that line. I can feel the gravity of the city's
things we
history.
read about in books actually exist. What a poem this would make if we were travelers of old.
A poem? Ah, Pendrago, where the evening lights are blinding sights.
Come on.
Okay, it wasn't great, but I gotta start somewhere, right?
What was that?
Quit it, Mikleo.
It wasn't me.
Let's check outside.
Was that Howl just now?
It's a haunting sky if ever I've seen one.
But this doesn't feel like his domain.
Could it really be?
He who must not be named being Heldalf, I assume. I got a feeling this is not a Heldalf situation. Okay. I'm anxious not to run out of supplies and especially life bottles after we got so low last stream. It's interesting that the town's music has remained fairly generic and normal while these suspicious evening time events have begun to take place. I would have expected a transition to something a bit more suspenseful. Oh! Well, that's suspenseful at least. Or dramatic, I should say. Maybe not suspenseful per se.
There. Not Kitty Beard, Kitty Tiger.
What a fearsome roar.
That's the Beast Master. It must be a Master Beast Demon who says it must be. I'll have to avoid saying must in the future.
Don't push yourself. How's this?
I hate the misclick when I apply items to party members totally different than my intention. Just my trigger finger's just a little too happy when it comes to these battles. It's hard to break this guy's guard. Awesome. Just what I was waiting for! Simon! Take it! Hopefully there are at least some Gurren Lagann fans watching, so it doesn't feel to everyone as though I am having a stroke.
That's fortune telling?
Saray got new art. Gotta catch up on that. I feel like we haven't updated his arts in a minute.
That's pretty rude of you. I prefer the term pleasantly.
Sorry.
Damn. Another dead lead.
Are you perhaps Morgrim?
Indeed I am.
Is she famous?
She's a high-ranking seraph who's a lone wolf, cat, and is imbued with a powerful blessing.
Whoa.
Alas, how shameful that you had to see that side of me.
This city is filled with the desires of greedy humans. I don't think you should feel responsible for it.
No, I must atone for it. Shepherd, you are looking for a seraph to bring the blessing to this city, are you not?
Well, this city is... Pendrago is a big city. It's impossible to eliminate all the malevolence, and the church still holds the power.
But that means all the more that there are those who would cry out for salvation.
They're just turning to Seraphim out of desperation.
Yet are the people's wishes not genuine? I can still maintain the blessing with them.
But still, you could become a Hellion again.
I've got an idea. Why not use the church's authority against them?
Wait, do you intend to filter human prayers?
Pretty sneaky.
I've been pondering over the role of the blessing in human society.
Any conclusion?
It doesn't really do anyone any favors if I just take their prayers and give them the blessing in return.
Quite a lot of stress for nothing.
To coexist with humans in peace, there are many things that Seraphim must be conscious of.
I see. I hope the Seraphim you're thinking of will notice as well.
Oh, what a quick-witted lass.
Huh? You're not talking about yourself?
You mean another Seraph, yeah?
I truly hope they notice me and my efforts.
We understand your idea. We'll try and find an appropriate vessel for you.
Is the inscription of the Shrine Church still there? If we use that, I should be able to maintain a good distance with the believers.
It's still there. Please, Morgrim.
Shepherd, I know I have said much, but remember that I do not distrust humans.
It's just that humans and Seraphim need to know where they stand on the issues.
Yes, indeed. Both parties shall.
Morgrim sure is the cat's quite a person.
Low-hanging fruit, Mikleo.
Even though she looks so fat, I mean proportionate.
Malevolence, prayer, enshrinement, giving the blessing. We Seraphim ought to reconsider how we interact with humans, like Morgrim has.
We humans should do the same for Seraphim. I think making that effort is the first step for peaceful coexistence, both for the Seraphim and humans.
But even Morgrim became a Hellion. Reality is cruel.
Yeah, so are you.
Let's not get too idealistic just yet, though, huh?
Right. There was so much malevolence in Pendrago that even Morgrim couldn't handle it by herself. We can't ignore that fact.
Maybe there's a reason why. A reason that might have something to do with the overflowing malevolence.
You may be right.
We shouldn't leave it all to Morgrim, and be sure to check up on her once in a while. Yeah.
Didn't totally follow what she was trying to get with respect to the attention of another Seraph, but perhaps more about that particular subplot will be revealed in time. I will confess I was also a little bit distracted because my own animal Seraph, Evie the Corgi, came over and was insisting on some pats by my feet while we were talking with Morgrim. But never let it be said that Aaron Sudoku cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. Logren. Have we even been to Logren yet? That is not a name that rings a bell to me. Maybe it's a town to which we have yet to travel, so I'm not seeing it here. What else do you have for us, Rose? Great Camelot Bridge. I remember seeing that place. I seem to remember it was one of those areas on the map that was, in a proverbial sense, grayed out by a domain of overwhelming malevolence back when we were doing the Trials of the Shepherd. But perhaps we've moved beyond that now. I'm looking for a save point that references the Great Camelot Bridge. Looks like we don't have one of those. I think it was in this pasture. Let's try it out while it's on our minds. Great Camelot Bridge! Haha, got it in one. You can't overcome me with your obscure warp point nomenclature. 2015 JRPG. Yep, and now the domain is gone. Funny how that goes. Man, I had this thought earlier today that the other Tales game I'm playing through right now, the 97 Tales of Destiny, is like about a quarter of a century old. And let me tell you, friends, when I thought about it in those terms, especially given that I was born 3 years prior to its publication, I felt basically as old as dirt. The beauty of being a lifetime gamer is if you wait long enough, whatever games you love will fade into retro lore eventually, and with that, you shall become an old school retro gamer, whether you like it or not. So the only advice I can offer you, just embrace it. Treat it as rings on a tree, and find ways to get better with your gaming age, like a fine wine. Like that.
So, you think I could use that weapon?
Don't even try.
Oh, we're gonna check out Soray's art kit, since I think you learned a couple new arts. What do we have that's new? Severing Wind. Okay. Cantering Flames. Love it. Crimson Edge. Alright.
Could this be some sort of training?
Especially at this point in JRPG, it's nice to just cycle through the new arts as they become available to you. Try them all out. Get some uses for them under your belt. Because in many JRPGs, especially Tales games, I'm not sure that this is one of them, but you oftentimes are rewarded with new techniques being unlocked based on your usage numbers of various arts. Don't like that. Maybe there's another way through? All right, go team. It takes a village to make a savior.
I like your moxie. Sylphid is a heinous wind art user.
They can warp too. Don't take your eyes off them.
Leave it to me!
Dragon Bang! Catch my flank! Everyone!
That definitely seems like a much stronger art than what we've been working with.
Be gone! No escape! Slice beware! Yeah! Ready? Yeah!
Sometimes it pays to spend a minute or two with your kit, friends. Awesome.
That's what the shepherd can do.
Oh! You see a purple star. That's all I need in this world. I want that iris gem. Give me that iris gem. West of Zefgot Moor.
There we go. Info about an iris gem.
I wonder how long ago that was.
What? Getting one of your bad feelings, Rose?
You could say that. I haven't heard much about the village of Horsa lately.
Have we been to Zefgot Moor before? That name is not familiar to me. No, maybe we'll just have to keep an eye out for that.
This stone disease. Could it be a Hellions doing?
That I cannot say, but I have a bad feeling about it.
You don't have to be Rose to feel it.
Well, considering we haven't made it all the way across this bridge yet, I'm gonna guess Zefgot Moor and the concomitant side quests are probably on the other side. Seems a safe assumption. No. Also, not sure exactly why long bridges would be a motif in the Tales games, but they definitely are between the Great Camelot Bridge and oh, I already forgot the name of the long bridge in Tetheala in Tales of Symphonia. Not the Maltokio Bridge, but whichever bridge connected Maltokio to the continent where Ozette and Caraccio Forest are. And I think there's a similar bridge in Aldrint in Tales of the Abyss as well, if memory serves. I wonder why that comes up over and over again. I love it when the enemies just line themselves up to get mowed down by arrows. Why can't this girl keep her health up? I keep telling her to heal herself. Leo just say, let's armatize, while we were literally already armatized for most of the battle. Weird. God damn it. This might be a bit much. In fact, I'm not even gonna risk it. Fuck this kind of dangerous encounter. Actually, how many enemies do we have left? Oh, way too many. I was thinking of canceling the escape because it looked like we were turning things around, but and some of these dangerous encounters just seem to be dangerously imbalanced, if you ask me. In which case, I do not feel especially bad about escaping.
Let's just get out alive.
Agreed. A little frustrated by all the time and effort we committed to killing a decent number of them, but sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Oh my god! Looks like we might have to kill that Hellion in order to get across the bridge, so we might as well do a save first. Yeah, we might be able to go around, but I have a... Well, actually, I gotta say I have a suspicious feeling we won't be able to. It actually looks like the map might be structured in such a way that we can avoid him, so I might as well try that. Yeah, it looks that way. Oh, but I don't know, especially knowing that it's that easy. I feel like we need to at least try once. If for no other reason than to see how laughably imbalanced we are. Well, we got interrupted on our way to the big bad. It's not my favorite. Everyone's restored. Let's try it once. Oh, Kraken. Jesus. Level 48. Oh, I think the party is at like 33 or something. I have no expectations for this battle, friends. But as I said, we have to try at least once and then we can just take our lumps and move on.
What the? How did it get so big?
I'm actually at a loss for words. Wow.
Looks like arts are effective. Let's divide the party up and attack.
Actually, without jinxing us, he seems to be a little more manageable than I feared. Just goes to show, friends, it's always worth a shot. Awesome. Oh, wow. This is just embarrassing. I feel bad for this Kraken. This Kraken oughtn't to have ever even been released. That movie's still relevant? I guess that was like 10 years ago or something crazy at this point. Awesome! Wow, almost 50 points of grade. That's just embarrassing. I'll take it. Yeah, you're not kidding, Laila. Honestly, I feel like for the track record we've had in confronting mini-boss field hellions in the game so far, that should have been a lot more harrowing than it was. But look, I'll take the win. Let's get to the other side of this bridge. Why did Saray cross the bridge? To get to the other side of redemption? I don't know. There's something there. So I've got more! I had a feeling that what we were seeking would be found on the other side. So I'm gonna guess that village where we heard tell of an iris gem will be the little village up here. And away we go! Really, I think especially after that Maltran tease, I'd been hoping for more side content about Alisha without really consciously realizing it, but that said, I am more than happy to content myself with more iris gems. Because it's extremely gratifying, especially given the setup of this game, to learn more about the history of the world and Laila's past adventures in it, given that she can't tell us anything about them herself. And it does all seem to be feeding back into the previous Shepherds and also the Lord of Calamity in ways that may or may not be related to each other. Slogren, that's where we're going, the tower remains. It's also a Horsa village. And the bridge is where we came from. Alright. The signposts are definitely more help than I initially augured.
white cunt.
I've never underestimated my foes before, and I won't start now!
Sonic Flurry! Tiger Blade! Dragon Ball! Dance at first! Get on! Get on! Let's get up! Sonic Flurry! Return to force! Tiger Blade! Let's give it up! Sonic Flurry!
So, you think I could use that weapon? Here you go.
Did hear tell of that giant elephant, but I did not see it. I'm sure if we wander through that desert again, it'll probably be easy enough to find. Although not as easy as I expected, given that an elephant appears to be a relatively common enemy type around the desert. Whoa! We found a whole little land of side quests. I love it! Cool music track too. I like this acoustic guitar.
Can't you give us a break on the medicine at least?
Sorry, I'm already putting my life on the line.
Hey, mister, don't you know that you're getting ripped off?
I know, but in this region, traveling merchants are the only people we can count on.
But 5 times the market rate is just too much.
There's a rampaging elephant in Zafgot Moor that is attacking merchant caravans. The danger involved caused the prices to skyrocket.
If it's just an elephant, aren't there plenty of ways to deal with it, like running away or setting a trap?
But it has wiped out many cavalries and armed troopers.
Definitely sounds fishy.
Could you possibly be the shepherd?
Oh, yes. My name is Saray.
Oh my. We've heard a lot about you.
You're hope for this world. Please, do your best.
Please let us know if you need anything. I pray we can be of use to you.
Thank you. Just saying that means a lot.
I'm surprised at how pious they are.
That's how it's always been in Logren. They must admire and respect the shepherd full-heartedly.
Even though they're in a state like this.
Isn't that where you come in, as the real shepherd?
Looks like it.
Ah man, the Turtles. I forgot all about their quest for vengeance. With all these other side quests and missions against Heldalf we've been doing. Okay, I'm done. Until the next time we meet at Turtles. Really want to see his journey through, man. Almost more than the journey to redeem humanity, if I'm being honest. If one cannot redeem the Turtles right in front of one's, how can one hope to redeem the whole human's race? Feyre! Feyre! You got me on my knees, Feyre. Ooh. Oh. Even I get that one. That's an allusion to Tales of Zestiria. I only know that from playing the first part of the first game in that sequence more than once. Regulars to the stream will know I have strong intentions and desires to go back and try it again. But more than once I've picked that up only to kind of, for various reasons that I don't think had much to do with the game per se, put it down like probably between 5 and 15 hours through. Oh, and we don't even get a skid around it. It's a letdown. Well, we know what it was talking about, and that's all that matters. Excuse me, sir. What the fuck?
Spherical perfection. You don't think it's Armadillon?
He said it was in Tri's old cave. Let's head on over there.
Well, even for lack of other side quest markers, I feel like it would be an insult to this little town not to wander through its deepest depths. What do we have over here? Why, nothing. Nothing at all. Truly. Maybe a location reserved for the motions of a later side quest or something. Oh, talk about a bridge to nowhere. And the inner sanctum is sealed. This is certainly as mysterious as, I suppose, one might expect of an optional town. As are the circumstances under which we've wandered into it.
There's something I want to tell you, since you've acquired the power to armatize.
Yeah?
Hidden arts are stronger than martial arts. Seraphic arts are stronger than hidden arts. And martial arts are stronger than seraphic arts. That's the basics. But we can only use martial arts and seraphic arts, which means that Seraphim aren't able to accommodate all types of enemies. You guys can use martial arts and hidden arts on your own. And during armatization, you can use hidden arts and seraphic arts.
Human, Seraphim, and armatization. So we can compensate for each of the 3 different types depending on how we use them.
Yeah. For example, for enemies that don't use any seraphic arts, it would be more advantageous if you armatize. Of course, you may encounter enemies which can be taken down more easily when you are not armatized as well. It just means that the armatization isn't all powerful.
Right.
There's the advantage of being able to concentrate 2 powers into one. But there's also a disadvantage to that as well. Assess your situation at all times. But the worst situation you can get yourself in is getting in a pinch from overthinking things. You gotta find your own balance out there.
I'll take things one step at a time. Thanks, Dezel.
Better advice than average in this game, I think, because at least in terms of the way I experience these things, getting into kind of a flow state with just understanding the basics well enough to kind of feel out what allows you to compensate for your own weaknesses without overthinking it really does help me to manage the complexities of this kind of battle system. But I do feel like that insight that the armatization is not all powerful is important but very counterintuitive. At least for me, in terms of the way I play these sorts of games. And I'm sure if you've been watching, you've seen this in the way that I play this. Like, my impulse, when you get a superpower that allows you to fuse into this, multifaceted, mega spiritual being, like the armatized version of Saray, like, of course I'm going to default to that, whether or not it's the optimized strategy for any particular enemy.
Must be a
So training that out in me is kind of an uphill battle, let's say. All right, dear friends. Well, I want to take stock of what Rose has to tell us. We definitely winnowed down the side quests, so I think, looking at the time, we've wrapped our 3 hours. I think based on the cadence of this, we will definitely have the bandwidth next time to knock out the remaining available, easily doable side quests, and then plow on with the pursuit of Heldalf. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised and a little bit delighted at the numeracy of side quests that we had available to us that I hadn't even realized. So I'd say it was definitely worth it to take this whole stream to dedicate ourselves just to knocking out those side quests. I hope you feel the same way. Even though it's the third of these Tales games I've streamed, I definitely still feel a bit of like cognitive dissonance with wanting to go through the story, but then also taking time to do a lot of side quests, which sometimes feel like a gamble in terms of whether or not they'll have impact on our experience of the story. But like I said, and I think this stream has borne this out, Zestiria, as is the case with many of the Tales games, really does a thoughtful job of architecting all of its optional content in such a way that you really do feel as if there's a payoff to your overall experience of the game and what it's trying to say for having taken the time to go through these side quests. In fact, already with a lot of these side quests that I'm pretty confident I did not play through during my first experience of this game, I already feel like I'm getting like a deeper appreciation and understanding, not just of the world, but also of what the creators were trying to say with the story, in a way where, like, initially when I first played the game, I felt it was pretty simplistic in what it was trying to say. And I still feel like there are dimensions of it in terms of like the moral universe it's expressing that are relatively simple, not in a negative or pejorative sense, but just in a more clear-cut sense than what you'd get in the typical game. But for having gone through a lot of the side content, I definitely feel like even for that simplicity, they're probing it to the richer extent that you would expect of any Tales game. It's just more frequently relegated to the side content than I think is generically the case across the overall Tales series. So, all the more reason to be spending this time on the side content. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It was great to have some more moments of interaction with Alisha in the later game, learn more about her own heritage and her struggles even after she left the party. Nice to get that kind of outside perspective on her after she already did her time as the squire and is now wrestling more with her identity as the princess knight, both kind of inside and outside the royal family of the Highland Kingdom. And cool to get more insights into the past through those Earth and Historia. Had a really fun time revisiting Alisha and Gramps, learning more about Laila's hidden past, more about Rose's proclivities as an individual, even outside her role as squire. So I think despite having not moved forward the main story one iota, I think we got a lot of key valuable insights that will serve us really well in our ongoing understanding and appreciation of the game. So I had a great stream this Friday night. I hope you did too. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Aaron Suduko, the founder of With a Terrible Fate. This has been another installment of Tales of Praxis. If you are in the U.S. and observing a long weekend for the 4th of July, I really hope that you have a wonderfully pleasant and rewarding and restorative holiday, hopefully filled with a lot of thoughtful gaming, as I also hope mine will be. Gonna try to catch up on some writing too, as I suggested at the top of the stream, but I'll keep you posted on all that. I'll also mention and drop a link in the VOD on YouTube, that latest installment of Pokemon Rose, Dan Hughes' amazing audio series, retrospective on the history of storytelling in the Pokemon franchise, has dropped. It's all about the nature of rivalry in the series and the way that it was progressively developed and kind of evolved to a new stage of narrative significance in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. It is called provocatively A Tale of Two Rivalries, so strongly encourage you to check that out. The link's on withaterriblefate.com, also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you like to listen, and look for more written articles soon, more details on the lecture we'll be giving, we'll be honored to be giving at PAX West, Labor Day weekend in a couple months, and of course the next stream of Tales of Praxis, which will be at the same appointed time, 7 p.m. Eastern, on this coming Monday. So whether that's at the end of a workday you're eking out before the 4th of July, or if that's in the middle of an indulgently long weekend, I hope you tune in. I hope you continue to enjoy it. It's always a pleasure to not just be digging into these JRPGs that meant so much to me growing up and helped to cultivate my thoughts as a philosopher of games, but also to be journeying through them with you all as my kind of real-life JRPG party. So thank you for making the time and for dialoguing with me and thinking about the meaning of these stories as we go through them. Can't tell you how rewarding that is for me. Hope it's valuable for you too. Have a great night in the meanwhile. Game well. And if not earlier, I will see you on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Till next time.